Good morning.
Hello, 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 hello. What up, Tiffany?
Hey, Fernando. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I feel like I haven't heard your voice in forever.
I know. You should get back to New Jersey.
I am missing New Jersey in the worst way. Cannot wait to be back home. I land Friday, and we're going to be meeting with Jim Kirkos for the new chamber office grand opening. Sean's going to be joining us, so I cannot wait to be back home.
That's awesome, Fernando.
Yeah, and how are you?
Great way to come home.
What are you present to? How have you been? I wish your voice was heard more. So how are you?
I am doing excellent. Thank you for asking. Just, we're launching Sean's podcast, so I'm doing that, and we're just innovating ways to, get massive group sales. So I'm very present to that right now.
Well, I love the sound of that. I'm talking to Jared for the first time today at I believe 10:30. So I'm excited to wrap my head around that and then continue to work together with you to make that all happen.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, Pete? We got Chris. Chris, you're unmuted today. Is today one of those days that we're blessed with your voice, brother?
Hey, yes, sir. Good morning, Fernando and everybody. I am here and present.
Woo! And what are you thinking about, my man? How are you? I love when you send videos, you and Leland and Craig. Every time you guys step up and do that, it brings sunshine and life to my life. So how are you, my brother?
Hey, I'm doing amazing. Co-creating, and actually I took Sean's his advice. Oh, sorry, I took his advice yesterday. I'm like calling some organizations. And I got a lot of voicemails, unfortunately, but I took the action to call some organizations to help with like the at-risk teen foundation I'm trying to create for this upcoming next year. So I'm super excited about that. I had a friend who has a lot of connections who was a hard no at first, and I got him to actually be like my second dancer now. So I'm super excited of what things are going on, and I'm just glad to be a part of this. Like everything's just coming together, and it's just amazing.
I love that, man. Day by day, I'm proud to hear the second dancer. I love when language sticks. The stickiness of this language, integrity-based human influence, is so key. So thank you for using the language and being in that, brother.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, we got Tia, we got Anna. Anna, this is the first time I see your name on here. Welcome. How are you? I believe Anna's there. We got Bronwyn. Bronwyn, hello. We have iPhone. I wonder who that is. We got a couple numbers. Hey.
Hi, it's Tiffany Armstrong.
Hey, Tiffany, how are you? We got another Tiffany. What's happening?
Not much. Just waking up here in Arizona, trying to join this for the first time and not wake up my 4-year-old. So.
Oh my goodness, Tiffany Armstrong. How'd you get the link? How'd you join us? Please share.
Yeah, well, Tamara and then Mona, I was talking to her over the weekend, and then I got the pleasure of meeting Holly Chang over the weekend,
Oh my goodness.
coincidentally. And so 3 ladies within 5 days, and I'm like, maybe the universe is telling me I should do this. So
yeah. And not only 3 ladies, but 3 insanely powerful ones. It was Tamara, Mona, and who was the third one? Holly
Chang. Yeah.
Yes. Were you with us here in Florida by any chance?
No, I wasn't. I was in Utah, so yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Well, Tiffany, I'm glad you're here. I cannot wait. If you can, please, at the end of the call, are you in our WhatsApp group?
No, tried to look it up. I'm new at WhatsApp, so I'm trying to figure that critter out. But
Okay, look, I'm gonna do you a favor.
uh-huh.
Can you please just take down my number really quick, and I'm gonna make sure you get on. It's 201.
Oh, just a minute, Michael.
No problem.
I gotta get another iPhone to make a note. I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, I would text you.
Yeah, Michael,
Let
can
me know
you
when you're ready. Got Nathan, Martha, Tamara. How are you? Thank you for having Tiffany join us, Tamara. Super grateful. Leland, I appreciate your words yesterday. Super blessed, my brother. It is people like you that give light and life, and you are a true leader here. So, Leland, thank you. And Tiffany Armstrong, the number is 201. Got it?
Uh-huh.
923.
923. Okay.
Fernando, I can
603.
send Tiffany the link.
Okay, beautiful. If you can please support in that, that would be eternally grateful. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Awesome. We got
What's the last
Brian,
four?
6203.
I'm sorry, 62 what?
03.
6203, Michael.
201-923-6203. And we got Brian on here as well. He just, we met at UPW, and he right after Sean spoke on stage, and he is here. And I am so happy that you're here, brother. I cannot wait to hear your voice.
Well, hey guys, good morning. Fernando, thank you. Yeah, and
Yes,
again,
sir.
welcome Brian and everybody. Happy Y Wednesday. Hope everybody is doing phenomenally.
Good morning, Mr.
And on this
Calgary.
Y Wednesday, yeah, good morning. Good morning. On this Y Wednesday, our opening question is, where are you in your understanding and knowledge of the formula, right? Like, where are you? Where are you with the 4 steps, the 10 indispensable elements of influence mastery? Where is your understanding of process mastery and self-mastery? Because as you begin to really check in on those questions, we begin to create acceleration. And some of you heard me share this a bunch, but you know, I've been teaching this material since 2001 to people at Calgary Law. And for those of you that know a little bit of the background story to like contextualize this information. So I quit my job. Well, I came out of law school. I'll tell a very abridged version. I came out of law school, and this is the genesis of the formula. And I'm going to take us into Y Wednesday. If anybody's in a car or outside, if you can mute yourself, because we're in a car, there's a little bit of background noise, you know, just in the general flow. So if you can mute, that'd be great. Thank you so much. So yeah, as I came out of law school, I was really excited. I had what I thought was my dream job, and this is going to be a super bridge version. Realized that it wasn't my dream, and I realized that there was a lot of oppressive dynamics in terms of how much money I was going to make, what my time freedom would be, and there didn't seem to be a whole lot of magic where I was and how people felt about things. I felt very corporate, very sterile, very negative, very dark, very limited. And I would see the people I was working for, and really the phrase I would use now, I didn't use it then, but now, is I did not see my future in them. So I decided that I needed something different. I found my way to personal development. I found my way to work with Tony Robbins initially, and Tony turned me on to the concept of modeling and reading and studying other people's work. And I realized that the key really to all of it, there were 3 keys, but a core, like the key core item that was required in everything we did was the ability to go from hello to yes with people. So the work of Jay Abraham, who will be speaking January 10, 11, and 12, and has become a dear friend of mine, and he and I joke all the time that he is Yoda to my Luke Skywalker, if that lands for anybody from Star Wars, as we have conversations about really the power of the Force, and that conversation really moves into that hello to yes dynamic, which is my core heart space, and his space of geometric and exponential acceleration, and of course he covers tons of other stuff, and that is a love of mine as well. So in 2000, after I quit my job at the major law firm, I decided to build my first law firm at the ripe old age of 28, I decided to build, really actually 27, late 27 to 28. I decided that I was going to start on my credit card. I was $100,000 in debt. And so we get very specific about how the formula, works. At that time, the initial question really in the self-mastery category, and this is why Wednesday, it's just 3 components, was why. At that point, my why was that I wanted to have a legacy for my children. And I want to be an example. I don't have any children yet, right? But I plan to. And my son would be born a little more than a year later. And my idea was that I want to be an example of possibility for him. I did not want to be oppressed and limited. I didn't want to come home every day and look at my children and look in the mirror and feel like I had sold out, that I was doing something that I didn't love, I didn't care about. And I didn't want to do what my father and my stepfather had done, which were beautiful souls, and they worked so hard and provided, for me and for my mom and my stepmom, because my parents were divorced. But they just weren't happy. They weren't happy. They both drank more than I thought was, even close to appropriate. And their life seemed to be lives of quiet desperation. And these are things that were very apparent to me since a very young age. And they loved me and they were kind to me, and things weren't perfect, but they didn't seem to be quite as kind and loving to themselves and to their lives. And so as I contemplated all this, and I discovered Tony's work, and many of you know the story that well, I'll skip that. So I start to also ask myself a different question. And the different question is, what's like a formula to make all of this come together? Because there's so much content in the world, and this is, I'm talking late 90s. If you compare that to today, I mean, there's no comparison. If you Google something, Google sales, Google marketing, Google personal development, Google happiness and fulfillment. The amount of material is so staggeringly overwhelming that what I feel like the world of personal development could easily fall into and be described as is sort of just like an endless series of motivational and inspirational dynamics. So it's like watching a Rocky movie, and Rocky is amazing, and I love inspirational motivational dynamics. I love Batman movies, I love James Bond, I love Rocky, I love watching professional athletics, but all of it disappeared very quickly. Like there was this rush, this something, and then it disappeared. But even more importantly, if it didn't disappear, then it was like, how do you make something happen? So after I quit my job in like late 97, and I began to try to grow a business, I remember walking into my first networking meeting. It was called BNI, Business Networkers International. And I remember having this like massive level of hope and being present to the fact that I was going to generate business. I was scared. I was in debt. I had started my law firm on my credit card. I had no room for error. I didn't even know how I was going to generate any income coming up that month. And so there was this unbelievable urgency. I had done something, by most people's accounts, my family's, my mom, that was completely and totally insane, what I was doing. And so when I walked into the room and I was motivated, I was inspired, and I walked up to the first person, I had no idea what to do or say. None. I had no idea what to ask for, how to say hello, how to present myself. And as silly as this was going to sound, I had never even thought about it. Like I had walked in thinking something magically was going to happen because I showed up. And then I began to ask myself the question after nothing happened. I felt embarrassed. I felt awkward. I felt like a failure. I felt such doubt and desperation. I began to ask myself the question of, am I even in the right place? Like, I just walked into this room and I don't even know if this is the right thing to be doing. So this third question, so the first question was kind of like, how do you motivate and inspire yourself regularly? The second question is, how do you talk to people? And the third question is, what do you do? And I'm like, where do I even go to find answers like that? and I wasn't finding them in any of the material that I was reading at that point. And to compress the story, I started reading a lot of books. I started hiring coaches shortly thereafter. I did generate a little bit of work from a couple different sources at that point, not quite as relevant right now. But I made a decision really after combining three things. It was the work of Tony Robbins and Awaken the Giant Within, Unlimited Power, and his Personal Power CDs. And what I began to categorize that as, and I'm not saying that Tony or anybody would agree with the way I will categorize their work, but what it meant to me at that time is Tony Robbins' work meant to me self-mastery. So I'm like, okay, this is, and what self-mastery, I began to define self-mastery as, was the ability to get myself to take action. So one thing we're doing on these huddles every day is we're grounding ourselves and generating the ability for ourselves to take action in a collective, reminded community sense. That's what we're doing here every day. That's self-mastery. It's one of the three components of what I now call the Calgary Results Formula. Second, I had to tackle the issue of how do you go from hello to yes with people? How do you talk to people? And I call that integrity-based influence mastery. Integrity-based influence mastery is short for influence mastery. And there's 4 steps. So let's go back. Self-mastery, I define as getting ourselves to take action, and it's rooted, again, in a formula. Everything is a formula. So I ask you the question of what is your formula for your self-mastery? And we'll come back to that in a second. But we need a formula, right? Because the absence of formula equals randomness. The absence of formula equals randomness. The absence of formula leads to a lack of consistency, a lack of predictability. And by the way, all of this has to be fun, because if it's not fun, we're never going to do it. So yeah, it has to be predictable, consistent, and formulaic at some level, but you need some variety to create fun. Otherwise, we're never going to do it all the time. So our formulas need our formula of self-mastery, as well as influence and process mastery, has to always have a connection to variety and fun. So our influence mastery, the second category, is the ability to go from hello to yes with people. For those of you that are around, I'll ask you to check in with what are your steps, your 4 steps, the 10 indispensable elements. What are your 4 energies? For those of you that are more new, I'll ask you, what's your formula? And my guess with love and respect is you don't have one. And rooted, so that's our second category, is influence mastery. That space came out of a lot of people's work. It came out of the work of NLP. It came out of some dynamics I learned from a seminar I went to. There was a Tony Robbins program he doesn't do any longer called The Competitive Edge. It came from the work of Dale Carnegie. It came lightly influenced by the work of Napoleon Hill. It came influenced by the work of Jerry Spence, a great trial lawyer that I heard speak in the late 90s. I think it was in late 97. In a seminar in San Diego, he wrote a book called How to Argue and Win Every Time. You don't need to look at any of these source materials because this is all synthesized for you by me. It came from an incredible book that I read called How to Make a Fortune from Public Speaking. Another book I read early on was called The Success Secrets of the Motivational Superstars. And by the way, Fernando Les Brown was one of the people featured in that book. And so I began to glean dynamics from all of these things and said I have to create a formula for how to go from hello to yes. Because when I hear, hey, you need to have rapport, hey, you need to convey your USP, there just seemed to be things missing. Like, how do you do it in a sequential process? And that became the study of my life. And what we've come up with is mind-blowing. It is utterly incredible. It happens every day of my life. Last night I was with Rob Gill, and we had a meeting with a bunch of doctors, and there was such knowingness and such ego and such significance that was going on with one of them, who, by the way, is a beautiful soul. And so I knew exactly what to do. And there was a drop the mic moment. It was like it was a process inside of a process inside of a process. In the end, when I told them exactly what I was doing, exactly who I was, and analyzed them, including telling the person how much significance need he had and how I was hitting him with Zeus energy to disrupt his pattern, in male hierarchical dynamics, in Zeus hierarchical dynamics, and hit him with a ton of Zeus energy to disrupt him and to out Zeus him and out hierarchically dominate him in front of the room. And it led to, drop the mic on this, Darcy, it led to me saying, if you think this isn't true, then engage me in front of the table on this material. And his silence. And the
Sure,
table
can I
having...
create an analogy on that, in that space?
Go, Rob.
I've never seen that First of all, I've seen a lot, obviously, but I've never seen, I was really uncomfortable with how loud the room was. And really, the thing I love about the Tony world or being on is when you get conditioned people that want to be there, right? So this was not a conditioned audience at all. This was
and by not a conditioned audience, Rob, means people who had no idea. I didn't set this up. I was the secret weapon at the table. I didn't know who I was. They didn't know what was even happening, and I was brought in to do what I do. Right? So, go, Rob.
The Sean thing.
So I'm going to make a sports analogy for whoever, bear with me, everybody. But basketball was my sport of choice growing up. And there was once a clip on Larry Bird where the players that played against him were talking about the trash that he would talk. Not that Sean was talking trash. But in one incident, Charles Barkley said that Larry came out of the huddle, and he said, Charles, I'm going to catch the ball over here. I'm going to pump fake, dribble, and shoot, and I'm going to score with you right on me. And when Sean told the guy what he was actually doing, he says, I'm out-juicing you right now because that's what you're bringing. And he broke it down like that. That was the first thing I thought of in that moment. I thought of not a trash talk, but a dissection, almost like a boxer saying, I'm going to punch you right here, or I'm going to shoot the ball right here, or I'm going to hit a home run on this next pitch. That's how I felt it was in that moment. Yeah. Because I never saw that part. That was good for me.
So the point, thank you, Rob. That's amazing. Stay with me, Rob. Okay, I'm going to kick it back in a minute. So the point of this is you go, okay, so what are you saying? Like, you're great? No. What I'm saying is I walked into a room with a guy that was disrupting the process of something that somebody had created in beautiful process mastery. I'll come back to process mastery, which is the third leg. We're talking right now about influence mastery, but there's some self-mastery involved as well. Because imagine how uncomfortable you would feel doing what I did. It takes something. It takes a lot of something to do that. So emotionally, to get yourself to act and use your influence mastery and to do what I know needs to be done. So at the table, this guy is being disrupted. He's being rude. He's talking as people are talking, having the floor. And it's about a 9-person dinner table. And a beautiful soul and a new relationship that we have at Epic with Rob is a doctor who has an insurance license. And he put this together. And it's wonderful for him and for Rob and, quite frankly, for me and, the awesome Mike Vesuvio that
mighty
Mike Vesuvio that Rob works with. So I'm like watching this go down. And so in that moment, I knew, and by the way, I know, because I know the formula, that when you disrupt someone's pattern, it's necessary just to have emotional rapport to be heard. And so what I was doing was in service of not only the table, but also him, because I knew there's things that he needed to learn here. So none of this is ego-driven. You might go like, whoa, this is all kinds of ego-driven stuff. None of it's ego-driven. It's all simply mechanical, intentional, rooted in love, loving him, loving everyone at the table, loving everything that's going on, and knowing that I have a superpower and that you have a superpower that you can develop, and I've developed mine. You can develop yours, and I'm still continuing to develop mine every day. But it's like there's no environment that I walk into that I have any lack of certainty that when it is done, the same result will happen every single time. And what happened by the end is the guy didn't want to leave. The guy was talking to me. He was asking me more questions. He had become what he needed in that moment, which is a student. In that moment, I was the teacher, and I was in love. I was the hierarchical figure of information. Now, he's a great doctor. If I had a medical problem, he should have the skills, if I was coming from knowing this, to disrupt my pattern. Maybe he's a great cook of pizza. And if it came down to how to cook pizza, and I was in knowing this, and he knew how to cook pizza better, well, his skill set in having me listen, accept, and take action would be in my best interest. You are an expert in something, probably in many things. You have greatness. You have a challenge in the world, however, which is, does the world know? Does the ecosystem know that you're in? Does anybody know? Do the people know who you can serve? That is what influence mastery is about, going from hello to yes.
Sean,
That is
could I
its
ask a
root, that is
question?
its core. Yeah, please.
This is Pete here.
Hey,
So
Pete.
you're talking about disabling knowingness in people in order to get them to build rapport, and you want to build rapport before you do that, so that you can be more effective at bringing them from no to yes. But how do you do that? Disable that knowingness without blatantly saying something like, hey, you're in this state of knowingness, you need to stop being in this state of knowingness and listen to me. Like, how do you do that so subtly without just
In that
blatantly saying?
in that moment at that table, it depends on the level of like Zeus energy and resistance. In that moment, I dropped it like a sledgehammer last night. So at one level, I might be like, hey, Pete, listen, you shared you'd want some more money, this might be, let's call it a mid-level interrupt. If there's objection handling or some dynamic in the beginning, let's clarify, are you interested in more money and less time with more magic? Like, seriously, do you want either more money or more free time or more magic in your life? Seriously, do you want any of those three things? And if the person goes, well, yeah, of course, everybody does. Then I'd say, with respect, there's no seat at any table on earth where you could receive access to those things like you can right here. So are you open to that possibility? I could share with you why, but if you're not interested in those things, great, but you just said you are. So I'm here to serve you, and I'm here to help you see what you don't see. That might be more mid-level. What happened last night, right, was more like, listen, Doc, right? At some level, he said, it sounds like some mysticism. I said, and my question simply was in that moment, I said, oh, I didn't say, oh, I said, mysticism? I said one word. I said, mysticism? And he was dead silence at the table. Because this had been going on like for a while, and now it was time. The restaurant quieted. I waited for the right moment to approach and really deliver my identity and the formula's identity, and then allow Scott and Mike and Rob to do what they did and simply articulate what was at stake for them in the purpose of the dinner, right? He was silent. I said, well, let's talk about it. So tell me what you think is mysticism. So then I brought it out more. And he was scared. Rob, was he scared?
Yes, it was like almost like if a bully was picking on you and you stepped up to the bully and then they give you an uncomfortable smile because they don't know what to do next. That's how I felt in the moment. I felt like I was 21 years old, and I did the very best I can not to say anything.
Yeah, but I heard Rob, I guess maybe reflexively say he doesn't want to engage, and the table heard it. So now Rob is like a spectator in this moment where he's now called the guy out and articulate exactly what's happening. And then from there, Pete, I'm like, listen, here's how you break it down. And I just claimed the space. I said, nobody on earth can go from hello to yes like I can. And I say that with absolute humility, but I distinguish humility from modesty. But I was coming like at 100 miles an hour and saying that, and I understand how to out Zeus hierarchical view. You came in from the minute you walked in tonight, and you had the energy of knowingness, the energy of ego. You have tremendous significance. And I just started breaking him down. And I said, if you want to engage in any moment in this, just share. And I went that hard, that fast, that real.
Right.
And it worked beautifully in service of him. So let me keep going, Pete, for a second, because I want to get somewhere. So the influence mastery piece of this is that. And so back in the day, when I first started in the late 90s, as I'm unfolding this, my question became, what do I do with that skill? I didn't have anywhere near the level of mastery I have now. So what do I do with it? And that's when Jay Abraham really turned me on to the idea of creating more meetings. Now, this is my language, my synthesis of his work, which, by the way, he loves. He loves my synthesis of his work, right? It became, how do you create more sales meetings at less cost less cost in time, money, and energy. And that's in marketing. And process mastery overall was rooted in the idea of modeling, one, modeling, two, time blocking, three, loving numbers and measuring everything, and fourth, constant innovation. And when you drop in on marketing, it came down to how do you create more high quality and high quantity sales meetings for less time, money, and energy. So that is what we're doing here. We're creating process mastery in marketing, which is how do I create a higher quality of sales meetings in less time, with less time, money, and energy. Second, how do I go from hello to yes in every dynamic I need to? And third, how do I get myself to do all this? That's why we're on these calls every day. And for me, going back into 1998, it led to me starting my own networking group. It led, and this is why you should take the quiz at least twice a week for the next month. Send that link out. The link will be in the WhatsApp group. Send the link every day, Tiffany. Every day, remind people, you're taking the quiz twice a week. Because the quiz is going to help you remember all of this material and have it become more fluid so you're able to utilize it so effectively. So when I read How to Make a Fortune from Public Speaking, I realized the power of the microphone, that you need the microphone, that the microphone is any time you're communicating in front of a group of people. It could be a table of 10. It could be a party of one. It could be a television show if you're Oprah. It could be a stage of thousands if you're Tony Robbins, or even, what I have the privilege to enjoy at times, and I'm doing that much more consistently. It could be this phone call. It could be a webinar. So anytime you want to create the microphone and add massive value for people. So I learned that rooted in Jay Abraham's work and the book, How to Make a Fortune from Public Speaking. So I started my own group. In a short period of time, I realized how broken networking was, and that we need to graduate from general networking rooms into more specific ones. In 1998, I created a talk, and I said, what talk should I create for the right audience? And I started speaking in front of groups of chiropractors, and I had a talk called How to Make a Fortune. You're at war and you don't even know it. I started delivering the talk. I generated tons of clients. And in less than 2 years, I had 40 people working for me from delivering my talk there at the State Chiropractic Society. We had an ecosystem merger. I had clients that became raving fans. I asked them consistently and regularly to recommend me to other people and other speaking engagements. And all of a sudden, I was a millionaire and I was free. And I had a beach house. And on my son's first birthday party, I had it on the roof of my beach house. And I've had the honor of having a bunch of people on this line sleep at my beach house, now I have beach houses, plural. Stay there, be there, share the magic of that place. Every time I walk onto my roof deck, I am conditioned. Every time I walk to it when I get to the house, I walk to it before I leave the house and say goodbye. And every time I ground myself in the magical moment of my son's first birthday party with my both grandmothers there, with my aunts, my cousins, holding my son. And the magic of that moment brings me to tears virtually every time. And the ability to share that energy and that magic with people grounds me, drives me, motivates me, inspires me. And in this Why Wednesday, back into why is part of self-mastery. Our why is what is the fuel and engine of everything that we do. And it is continued to morph. I've created and been an example of possibility for my children. I've shown them what it looks like to defeat evil, bullies, lying, destruction, everything wrong with our legal system in massive court cases. I've demonstrated the possibility of entrepreneurship to them. They've seen me on stage in front of thousands. They've seen me take people in pain one-on-one, kids in trouble, coach teams, contribute, inspire. They've also seen what's possible in terms of just being at the beach houses that we have and the magic. So that's present and there, and I try to live that every day for them, but it's expanded for me. And again, the question is, what is it for you, of course? And for me now, it's to be an example of possibility to people in the world, and it's also to use my gifts and talents and expand them, because I believe in God. I believe God has given me gifts and talents, every one of us, and to unleash them, grow them, and multiply them, right? And that's what they're there for me. And it's why Wednesday, I guess the two questions are, how clearly do you see the benefits of the formula and creating mastery over it? And by the way, and having fun in it. Like, we're in the formula when, you know, Mona is leading a guided meditation on the beach at like 4:30 in the morning. And we're in the formula when we're in the ocean. We're in the formula when we're having a party. We're in the formula when we're talking to people and sharing with one person inside of UPW. We're in the formula when we're at that dinner table last night, supporting people and in their listening and other people and conveying their unique identity. We're in the formula on this huddle every day. We're in the formula continuously. And how often are we connecting to our why? My suggestion is at least once a day to start and once a day at the end, where we're like, why am I doing all this? And you go, well, I don't know. Well, of course you know. And Tony Robbins always asks the question of, what if you did know? It's a great coaching question. Like, what if you did know? And ground yourself that you know. So what's your why is the second question of this huddle. What's your why? Does it drive you? Does it bring you close to tears? Does it connect you to your heart, your soul? Does it make like a tingly sensation go off inside of you? If it doesn't, just ask yourself why again. Keep asking why, like why? Oh, because I want to make money. Why? Oh, because I don't want to work as hard. Why? Like, what does that mean? Why? And when you get to a place where you're feeling that resonance, that depth of soul and heart connection, those emotional dynamics, you know you've gone deep enough. Or you can even go deeper, but you know you're at least beginning to have gone deep enough. But again, that second question always is, where am I in the formula? My process mastery, my self-mastery, my influence mastery. And the greatest way to expand your knowledge of it is to teach it and introduce it and share it to other people. So talk to people about it, share, begin to notice things. When you become a teacher of anything, it dramatically increases your skills. As I've taught this more in the last 6 months than I've ever taught it in my life, my mastery rises. And at this stage where I am, that just leads to exponential acceleration that's available to you. Like, it's right there for you. It's in front of you. It's here every day. And that's what we're doing. So that said, you know, our outcome on these huddles is going to be to not be half an hour, to be 15 to 20 minutes. We're not hitting that very often at this point as we're getting rolling, but that's the commitment. It's 15 to 20 minutes, ground ourselves, but, you know, we're expanding, we're opening, we're rolling. It's the beginning, but it's to ground ourselves here in our process mastery, our influence mastery, our self-mastery. And by the way, I say it that way typically: process mastery, influence mastery, self-mastery. Process mastery, influence mastery, self-mastery, to ground ourselves in sections of it. But we have a bunch of new people that have been coming on, so I want to just share what we're doing here. And all of it is about producing the results and outcomes that you want. Your results and outcomes. There's a way to select those. We'll talk about that on a different day. But the outcomes you want in your life that mean everything to you and are consistent with your why, your life's purpose that drives you emotionally, energetically. And by the way, it doesn't mean everything we're going to do every day is going to be like the thing we'd love to do most in that moment, but we can reframe how we associate to what we're doing. So there are mornings that I get up and I'm like, I'm exhausted. If I'm up to 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 doing something, and I might not be really ready to wake up in 2.5 hours and be on the huddle. And in that moment, I'm like, I don't really feel like doing this. And instantly, I'm able to ground myself, disrupt that pattern, and be fully connected to serving, connecting, and giving. And that's a self-mastery dynamic, but that's the purpose of the huddle: to ground all of ourselves, to put us into our peak state of conditioning, but not just emotionally, in our influence and in our process. So that said, and we're going to wrap. I'll take any one. I'm going to kick it to Fernanda for any housekeeping.
Yes, thank you.
The internal team. But is there anybody who's got one question, one share for today?
Hey, Sean, it's Craig. How
What's
you
up,
doing,
brother?
everybody? Good morning.
20 seconds.
What's going on?
Go. Good morning.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Go,
20
brother.
seconds. I spent the entire day yesterday feeling the exact same question: how connected am I to this formula, and what I do or do not know? And something that was going on the talk last week is to spend every single day to take one piece of the formula and start to use it in my daily life and in my daily interactions. That conversation ended up happening 3 times throughout the day. And just desiring to connect to it is opening up doors left and right to be a part of it. So even if you don't know it, even if you're not ready for it, even if you're new here and you don't know exactly what's going on, Just grab onto small access points and you'll find the connection into it throughout your life, whether it's in business or personal life. And as time goes on,
Awesome.
it will affect everything else.
Awesome, brother.
Beautiful.
And tonight at 6 o'clock, and in the WhatsApp tonight at 6 o'clock, we have our hour and a half weekly training. Tremendous access point coming up tonight. We're going to have Adam, I believe, is going to be on that call with me, Adam Gugino, and we're going to be talking about cold utilization of phone as a wildly important, effective piece, tonality, vocal qualities, influence mastery using the phone, some process mastery elements. So we drop into the formula in a variety of ways, but Adam is a rock star that took Momentum Solar from 3 million to 700 million in revenue, built a call center from 0 to 400 people. Super rock star. That's happening. Fernando, any housekeeping? What's up, brother?
You hit it right on the head, Mr. Callagy. So 6 to 7:30 tonight. Tiffany, thank you for dropping all the information, the WhatsApp, the Zoom, the quiz. It is all in there. And I just really want to take a second to acknowledge Eve and Peter. We met over the weekend here. So because of them, we're officially an international group. Peter's jumping in all the way from England. And Eve, she's a world traveler. I have no idea where she is, but I know that she's not here. So thank you, Eve. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for everyone who's jumping into the calls. And we will talk tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. EST. I will redrop the links for you. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Mr. Callagy. Thank you, Rob. And thank you, Craig. I will be speaking with Morris in about 5 minutes. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you, brother. And final, there's I forget the name of the song, but it goes something like, there's something happening here. And it goes on to, what it is ain't exactly clear. Well, there is something happening here. And it is exactly clear. And this is momentum. This is energy. This is creating massive outcomes, building an ecosystem together to create a grounding every day to have more money in less time with more magic in your life and the lives of everybody you impact. Have an amazing day. Happy White Wednesday. Thanks.
Blessings, everyone. Talk in the WhatsApp group. Looking forward to hearing your notes, your thoughts. Please share them. And if you can, in order to get you into the email invite, please feel free to drop your email in there. And then Tiffany, Teresa, and Krista and I will support you in getting you on the calendar invite. Many blessings, and I'll see you in the training tonight. Peace out, Darcy.
Have a great day, everybody.